Hey folks, and welcome back. It's Elucid, and we're back in NewCasting. It's turn 73. Last turn, it looked like Jomen was really starting to lose momentum, right? The Ryujin are getting killed by Sinless or Horror, and it looks like that's going to continue in spades here this turn. Lemuria won a pretty important strategic victory. And Jomen's fights, they're just having to fight everybody. I think the Jomen ticket out of this is diplomacy. I think they need to buy people off, say, look, yeah, I'm in position one. Let me give you some land, and like he offered to give that throne to Abyssia. That was perfect. Right? But I think you want to buy their land and get them engaged in other wars. Preferably get a Lemuria coalition going. The thing is, though, is you need to give them enough treats that it will allow you to continue what you're doing and then also not put you in a position to get too close to throne victory. And kind of if you think about what that would do at like a meta level in the game state, you probably are going to want to organize it where certain players are going to get eliminated from the game and everybody else is going to profit, and you won't be too far ahead of them. If you're trying to, this is if you're going the diplomacy route, right? Like if you're going the diplomacy route, you can't really do that where you're going to be way bigger than everybody else. That's not how the diplomacy route works. And I'm looking at it, and I think they need to go the diplomacy route now. I don't think they can fight everybody, right? It doesn't look to be working. So, I tend to not want to get in a position where a huge coalition against me is justified in a game. That's not my personal preference. But that is a very viable way to win the game. And Jomen was getting to the point where they might be able to push through that and win, right? Especially if they had finished off Bogarus first and then got to attack everybody else. So, anyway, that's a thing, is how capable are you of just turning into the coalition and fighting your way through it? And there's a chance they were ready, but just based off last turn, I don't think they are. Message from Ulm. Putting, or at least attempting to put all of Agartha's forts under siege this turn and catch the stack he has thrown into my territory. I don't think he can get it back to his cap in time to save it. It could just be he's trying to do as much damage as possible. Yeah, I think that's where his head is. I have all the Archdevils now, and they'll hopefully be moving, doing many lovely, useful things for me. Blood 8 next turn. Not quite sure what to go for next. Maybe Conjuration 9 for Tarts, as we cap Recoup mod, or Blood 9 for Demon Lord sounds cool. Jomen doesn't seem to have too many thrones, but I lack many eyes on Bogarus, so this could change rapidly. We'll be attempting to move against them ASAP. So man, everybody is bought in. We don't see anybody worrying about Lemuria, who's in a very close position too. And then from Falegra, they are right to be worried about Jomen. I think what you do in this situation is you get Jomen to buy you off to fight Lemuria. If you can get enough from him where you're going to assure he doesn't have a throne win. And the only way everybody's going to get bigger at some level is if certain people go out of the game. So, I wouldn't be, in principle, opposed to Jomen eating Bogarus, as long as I get a decent amount of things out of it, right? So they may need to give you significant portions of the land, but the only way, there's only so much land on the map, so somebody's got to go out for other people to get bigger. And I wouldn't want to be like a whipping boy and fight Lemuria for poor lands by myself pretty much ever. And I definitely wouldn't want to do it while Jomen is eating really rich lands. I would want to do it as part of a broad coalition. And really, it's on Jomen to put that together. But you can understand why it's difficult, because Lemuria has really successfully organized a coalition against Jomen. So one of the situations where having Eyes of God or putting graphs up can really help you with diplomacy. From Flegra, you may be wondering what my plans are with seduction. I would also like to know, but I did this mainly to commit to the bit. I believe what... I don't know what he's talking about. Flagger doesn't really get seduction. So I'm not sure. I believe that I heard that the cat charm will change the gender of its wielder to female, as Jomen has many male commanders. This should be interesting. If you haven't seen my newest thug, you'll see them soon. Okay. Okay. So let's look at the magic phase attacks. Lemuria magic phasing into a very casual PD dump. The Grand Lemur dies. Did it have any gear on it is the question. It did not, but the Lich Queen survives. Yeah, this isn't terribly effective. Just watch this. This looks like 4 or 5. Yeah, I think it's like 4 or 5 Sinless or Hars. He loses some of these guys. I mean, honestly, this isn't a great trade for Ulm. I mean, not for Bugaroos, who I think is casting it. Interesting. So this is 2 casts of Sinless or Har. Not enough to kill this guy. So he jumps to the back and is going after the commanders, and he's successful. Okay. And this one, the PD routes and still routes him. But I think it was a different outcome in the real game. This one, do they run away or what happens? Yeah, it looks like he just ran away. Looks like he just ran away here as well. Yeah, decides to peace out. Okay, they finally get a Ryujin. And the Bronze Colossus, President Gerald Ford. I don't think this is a magic phase attempt. You can probably look by looking at his gear. He could have Cloud Trapezed. Oh god. His Gifts of Heavening. He could hit himself. Okay. It switches to a little bit better spells. Was this Frisia? Yeah, okay, this is still a magic phase attack. So he Cloud Trapezed the god over here. That is a little bit annoying for Jomen. Loses one of the Ryujin here as well. Loses another Ryujin here. This, I think we're in the normal phase now. Soul Slay, what's up? Is that down here? Where were we? Okay, that was here. Was it in Bugaroos? Yeah. So he tried to put Bugaroos under siege. He hit it with the Golem in the magic phase. And the Golem cast Doom. It's strange. And then a Ryujin in the normal phase, and the Ryujin gets killed. This was the stack that Bugaroos has been peppering. On the Bugaroos sends a Golem in here. And on this Golem, he has kitted a Wraith Sword. And why you put these on a Golem, so this is kind of cool. You put... Oh my goodness, it's fire empowered. So this is not new player stuff. This is kind of advanced. This is actually a really cool Golem kit. This is a Golem with a Wraith Sword, which is going to heal fatigue and, most importantly, life. Now, Golems, because they are inanimate, they cannot be healed with stuff like regen. So this is one of the few ways you basically need a life drain source to heal a Golem, and this is one of the ways to do it. The problem with this is they tend to have low attack score, so it doesn't end up proccing too much. It's kind of the main problem with the Wraith Sword. And a lot of times if you're doing it, you want to stack some way, somehow, some bonus attack on them, or you want to give them quickness boots. Like, you don't want Boots of the Messenger here. This is not good. Right? Quickness boots and like a Burning Pearl or something is going to be better than a little bit more protection, most likely. Because they really don't hit much like this. Or certainly this thing, I think maybe you keep the Bracer of Protection and you swap the Girdle of Might for a Burning Pearl. Or some bonus attack. But the whole thing behind this Golem is going to be, it can do Phoenix Pyre, and then it can get its reinvigoration back. So it's actually very spooky. Phoenix Pyre. Doesn't look like it's going to get Body Ethereal off. And a lot of the things near it actually are lifeless, so that sword isn't really going to work. Oh my gosh. Just took a hit for 32 damage. And we've got somebody up here spamming Bone Melter. Oh, somebody cast Shatter. These guys are on Advance and Cast with Shatter. This guy's boned. Oh, but it's Phoenix Pyre. I forgot for a second. Gives to Heaven, hits it on the first shot. Comes back down here. It's at 71 fatigue. Now, there are reasons for, like, the Boots of the Messenger, for the Girdle of Might. They both give reinvigoration, which is going to help with the Phoenix Pyre bullshit. Where did it go? Oh, he's starting to die a lot now. He's at, okay, if he dies right now, which he's probably about to, this is going to be the last time. Because he's at 127. If you die over 100 fatigue, Phoenix Pyre does not kick in. 116. He's got 29 hit points left. Alright, that was it. So this very, very expensive Golem, Phoenix Pyre empowering, he did a double empower, so it wasn't even a single empower. You can do Phoenix Pyre with just Fire 1, and you put a gem on him to be effectively Fire 2. So this was 75 gems of empowerment. Would the gear I was talking about, would that have saved him? I'm not sure. And he was really afflicted by the end. Let's see what afflictions he died with. He might not have even had that Wraith Sword. That's the other problem with, like, trying to do what I was just talking about with, like, the Wraith Sword, is that you get a lot of afflictions. Oh, he just got blown up. What were his afflictions? Yeah, he lost an arm, right? So, the thing is, when you lose an arm, you're going to lose your two-handed weapon. So, it's... that's the tricky thing about doing it, right? Like, you're... And then, if he lost an arm, would the... Like, all the stuff... The reinvigoration gear all of a sudden becomes a lot better than the attack and the quickness and all that jazz. I think the short answer is just fighting into an army that has Advance and Cast Shatter Casters and, you know, Gifts of Heaven and... You know, you could even have Advance and Casting Mages. Like, eventually he might have gotten oppositioned. Just a lot of ways for it to go sideways. So now, presumably, Jomen's going to get this throne from him. So I don't know. I mean, bad turn for Bogaroos, kind of, but kind of a worse turn for Jomen. I mean, he lost a decent number of Ryujin. Kind of lose-lose here. Oh my goodness. Jomen attacking Lemuria here. And Lemuria looks like they had a... This is a bottle of water, I'm guessing. Yeah, 2 bottles of water on their stack. So yeah, bottles of water backed up by Skelly Spam. Pretty good underwater. Kills this Ryujin. And that is one thing you don't want as Jomen, is having the ghosts coming underwater to mess with you, especially when they're killing your Ryujin off. I mean, there are ghosts everywhere. And there's some ghosts on top of this throne. There's some ghosts moving here. There's ghosts here. Okay, this looks like a nice little tactical win. A tight tactical win for Jomen. The other thing is Jomen is fighting so much He's spending all of his gems. He had mentioned this in his message. He's spending basically all of his gems fighting, right? Like combat spells. What does that mean? It means, or, you know, kitting out thugs. At the rate thugs have been dying, especially, it means he's not increasing combat power, like combat strength over time. Like, he's not becoming more powerful. And very possibly other players are. Certainly Lemuria is. So, yeah, looking pretty rough. Looking pretty rough. And I had made a prediction that Lemuria was going to go, that Jomen was going to go down in provinces last turn. It looks like that's come true. And the reason, of course, is that a lot of the gains they had weren't permanent. Like, they got magic phased on here by Abyssia. They're pretty much all of their provinces over here that they had taken the previous turn are getting hit by horrors. It's just, this is not a safe place to send Ryujin. It just isn't, right? So all the send horror casting is not just from Bogarus, it's also from Abyssia. Yeah. Oh, but we do have a big battle. So this is probably going to be the meat and potatoes of this turn. So get out your popcorn, boys. Abyssia with the stack of heavy infantry, a lot of fire mages in the front, against Jomen. Let's see if Jomen could potentially do some interesting things. We got, Pillar of Fire coming out. Very good spell. These troops do not have any fire resistance. I say that too soon. So now they've cast Army of Gold, which is going to take a lot of the edge off these fire spells. Pillar of Fire will still be able to damage you through Army of Gold, but not very well. It takes a lot of the edge off of Pillar of Fire. But as you can see, it's still deleting things. I forget exactly how much it is, but it's like 40-something AP damage. It's a lot of damage. So it doesn't look like it's taking as much of the edge off as I thought. And now all the troops are split out. We got Mass Flight being cast by Jomen. He's got Aerofend up. And they're now in melee. He's also got a bunch of water elementals, which received the Gift of Flight, or the Mass Flight buff. And they're, these Ashigaru are in contact with the crossbows. The mages are also now in melee, and like these Celestial Soldiers came down and deleted a mage or two apiece. And there is a mage core left, but it is not very big. And most of the Abyssian stuff is now gone. This is pretty well played by both sides here, I think. I could see how this, like how Abyssia would have won. And Abyssia kind of wanted a longer battle where they could sit there and just pepper them with evocations. But Mass Flight and Army of Gold, I think, have really what swung this, right? So Army of Gold is just going to give these guys complete dominance in the melee arena, right? And Abyssia had no such buffs. Oh no, they had mass protection. Okay. So they were comparable then. Not like the crossbows, but these heavy infantry are still pretty tough. Anyway, that was a good fight. Oh, this looks like the Prophet. Pardoning Richard Nixon. The Prophet of Gerald Ford. Okay. So he loses some Ashigaru and 2 Master Shugenjas and an adept of fire, we'll call him, because I can't say that. But definitely a much, this is not a fair trade, right? This is a stomping by Jomen, and it was close. Like, I don't think, it wasn't clear to me, just looking at it at the beginning, that Jomen was going to win. I think it was a combination of all the things they did. They cast, I think, a bunch of Swarm to help make decoys. It was Mass Flight to going ahead and getting on top of the mages. They brought a lot more mages than I thought, right? I was thinking they had like 13 or 14 total. But they brought more mages than Abyssia had by probably a little bit. But it was a similar number. Yeah, I mean, that was super cool. There's probably more to that battle that I didn't even pick up on. But very cool. So now the question is, what does Abyssia do? Right? Because Jomen had been trying to buy peace with them. Is that offer still on the table? Right? Will they give this throne up in return for peace with Abyssia, which was what Abyssia had wanted this throne as a minimum, but he wanted more, I think. We'll see. This looks like so far it's a highly unprofitable war for both parties. The attrition of the Ryujin and like some of the Marine force here, it's just very high. Jomen can't afford this. So I think Jomen would still be really incentivized to peace out. And clearly Abyssia is not going to make the kind of easy progress they wanted to. Yeah, okay. Let's take a look at Ulm. Ulm and Agartha. So Agartha continues to march from here to here. This can only be described, especially since he's going through a swamp where his army's certainly starving. I think this can only be described as a direct move onto Ulm's capital. And you can see there are a bunch of firestorm traps that Ulm has been setting up that most likely were dodged. And he is on top of this throne from Agartha. Lemuria's deep raiding here has taken this and has taken all of the adjacent tiles. So Lemuria, I would say, is in position 1 now. I think if you're this close, just the fact that you're Lemuria pushes you into position 1. I wouldn't say Jomen is position 1. I think this turn, Lemuria, in my opinion, is officially in position 1. It could be argued before, but I think this much up for them and that much down from Jomen, and just the general game state, Lemuria has moved into position 1. And gosh, I mean, when you're playing the Ulm position too, you must just be thinking about this inevitable war with Lemuria that's coming. It's going to be annoying. And I think that's mostly it. Let's go through and scan these, make sure I don't miss anything. God, there were a lot of dead Ryujin this turn. He was saying, oh my goodness, what the fuck? This must have been the thug that, I'm pretty sure we have a friendship hat. Yep. And Tartarian chains. Oh, with the seduction amulet too. That's funny. Yeah. Okay, we'll see how this goes. Oh, he just lands and is immediately like flipped. The thing is, you actually have to be a little careful because like this guy's so killy. He'll kill things as soon as they get in melee with him. So you actually don't have a lot of time for the friendship stuff, like the Tartarian chains. This does enslave and this does charm, to actually work. But that's cool. He made a new friend. A decent amount of attrition from just a few PD. That was that big battle we watched. That was the stealing of the guy. Yeah, okay. I think that was it for this turn. Let's go to the next. But what are we at? We're at 24 minutes. Let me see if the next turn's going to be a long one. All right, we're just going to do the next turn. I'll just try to do it really fast. Message from Abyssia. Big late game battles are fun. Getting crushed by Jomen is less fun. Still, Abyssia soldiers on. Hopefully Gerald Ford and some vampire friends can inflict some damage if Jomen's armies advance on the fort. Not sure why what my long-term path is here. Yeah. In my opinion, when you're in this game state, you should be very open to diplomacy. Like, if you're not sure what to do, I've done it to people in the game. Like, this actually is an interesting thing. Try this in a game you're in. Take somebody who's a neighbor that you trusting them isn't even that important. Just ask them what they think you should do. Like, what do you think is the best play from my nation? If you're not sure what to do, just ask some people. Like, ask Lemuria, ask Jomen, ask other people, what do you think the best play for my nation is? And they're all going to give you self-interested answers. Join me and fight so-and-so. Join me and fight so-and-so. But, they'll explain why they think it's the best thing for you. And you get to kind of look at that and compare it against evidence and see what you actually think. But it's a good way to kind of break you out of a block. When you're like this, though, you should be pretty susceptible to diplomacy, which is good. Right, so like Jomen should be able to peace out because you're not in a profitable war. From Bagrus, losing that Phoenix Pyre Golem really hurt. After empowering a second time, I realized I could have just empowered the Golem once, which didn't help the loss. If I had only brought 2 units, one positioned in front and one in the back, the birds wouldn't have immediately landed on the Golem. I then would have gotten body Ethereal off, which would have helped a lot. I guess hindsight is 20/20. Yeah, I don't know if he was going to win even if he got body Ethereal off. Like, there were Shatter Casters, there was Gifts of Heaven. Maybe. Now I'll have to be a lot more cautious about creating a Hell Power Golem, which would have also been interesting. So golems are actually pretty good to put Hell Power on. The only problem is it takes a ton of blood slaves. Sadly, I don't have the slave economy for it right now. Hopefully I can defend my lands at least. It's unrealistic at this point to think I could pull off a throne rush. Right now my plan is to turn this into a really long game and hope that I can slowly improve my position. Well, that's a pretty good plan. He's done a good job picking off the Ryujin raiders. He hasn't really been willing to mobilize an army, which I think is a little, you probably need to be able to put an army out there. Phlegra. So as Jomen's death is inevitable at this point, I'm concerned about Lemuria. We have the first player talking about Lemuria. I think they're about to win. I'm going to start forming a coalition and hopefully get thrones out of the dead hands. Okay. Well, that's smart. We finally have people catching up with what the game state is. So props to Phlegra. It's kind of interesting. Oh, what was he getting hit with? I'll turn this guy into a Ryujin. Oh, he was doing Frozen Heart and he got hit by blood damage reversal. Cool. Another one dies. Ooh, Golem using a... Jomen using a Golem, but running it into a Vampire Queen. Wait, what the hell? All right, so he's got an axe of sharpness, which has very low, or a gate cleaver. It's got very low attack, but it hits like a friggin' mountain. She's only got 13 defense, though. Okay, so he hits her, and I think she has a Ritual of Returning. How do you hit her and just send her home when your only hit is 60 damage? I need to know this. How does that even happen? You have a 60 armor negating attack. Oh, damage cap. Maximum possible in hit area. Right, 64 damage. Okay. Let's see if he actually dies in this scenario. I think because he killed her, he must have not landed on attack rear in the real game. Because I'm pretty sure he's going to kill ghosts faster than can be made here. Though he is finding that surprisingly difficult. He is at 21 hit points. I think he may die, actually. Okay. Well, even in this alternate world where the Lich... Oh, no, the Lich Queen did survive. I think this actually is what happened. She got sent home. She had Ritual of Returning. Yeah, minus a Golem. Jomen continues to bleed out. Okay, let's do this from the map. So, yeah, Lemuria very good against PD dumps, so they're just taking all of this land. Oh my goodness. Oh man, Lemuria being so aggressive. They've attacked, they're all in Jomen's area. Oh my god. So they've actually crossed score graphs this turn. They're just being so aggressive. Ulm has got this fort under siege, so presumably he'll storm, but he's going to have to pivot into an immediate war with Lemuria. And what's interesting is previously he'd been talking about going to war with Jomen, not Lemuria. So it looks like it's going to come down to it. The Agarthan force is continuing to stumble off towards Ulm's capital. I don't know why Ulm is putting, like, these guys here. Like, what's... I guess they were pre-existing blood hunting operations. I think you fly this guy here. I think this is the most predictable move. Like, you kind of have an idea he's going towards your capital. I mean... Yeah. And you should be sending a little raider to take the province as he goes, so when you finally kill him, and the army routes, there's nowhere for the mages to go to. But... presumably, there's going to be a defense in Ulm's capital this turn, which will include Firestorm and some other stuff. And hopefully Ulm will cut off the retreat route, storm this, and that'll be the end of Agartha. Yeah. This fort's under siege for some time. The Dominion has diminished now. It was like 6 or 7. But, you know, they've got Purgatory up, and so... Lemuria is being pretty cautious about how much they want to put on here. But the control of the region is certainly being wrested from Lemuria. I mean, from Jomen. Especially with this big force here on top of this fort that's only got 1 candle in it. Yeah. Just looking real rough for Jomen. Let's see how it's going in the Jomen Bugaroos theater. Okay, so Ryujin, he tries to ping/storm the fort with a single Ryujin. Looks like the Ryujin had a Ring of Returning or something, because he gets zapped home. But he knows what's inside now. I think he's going to storm. Jomen just using Send Lesser Horror to control the area around his cap. His main army here is not riding out. I think... I don't know. I wouldn't... The thing is, he's kind of stuck in a catch-22. If he moves his mages out with his troop... Like, if he moves his troops out and doesn't bring enough mages... like, the army could die. It'd be really sad. And then there'd be nothing left to defend the cap with the mages left in it. But... And I don't actually know if he can bring enough mages to, like, decidedly win these fights. Like, maybe this is a soft target. And then it moves out, maybe takes this, but this army it still has to deal with. I think the thing is, he just doesn't really have enough fort... Like, he doesn't have enough resources to really win these wars. Like, he needs mages. It'd be nice if he had some better quality troops by now. You know, like some demons or something to mix into his chaff armies. So I don't know. It's going to be real tough. Strategically, though, you can't be sitting in your fort with your only army when you're this small, this late into the game. Right? So, you know, it's kind of like you need a better plan, but if this is the best plan you can come up with, then what else do you do? And I'm not exactly sure what the better plan is, except I think you need to look... Ideally, you force Jomen to take some fight, and then you cheese him somehow, like maybe with that Phoenix Pyre Golem, and then you, off the back of that, take some infrastructure, maybe even 2 or 3 forts, and then all of a sudden you're back in the game. But you can't really sit here. Like, you need to be sieging forts with that army. Okay, so that's that. I think we've seen most of that. Phlegra, I mean, Phlegra's actually, they're the first person here to figure out the Lemuria is the real threat. And they've gained a decent amount. Oh man, they lost a ton. So this was Abyssia taking their stuff. They pieced Abyssia. And the past few turns, they've been making hay with their foray into to Jomenese lands. Yeah. The thing, though, is that a lot of the... now that they finally have weakened a big player, it really sucks if Phlegra's like, hey guys, we have to stop fighting Jomen because we need to go fight Lemuria. And everybody else is like, hey, we finally have killed, we're starting to win the raiding war. We've killed a bunch of his stuff. Now is the time when we profit, right? Now's the time when we get the spoils. Why are you asking us to go fight the ghosts? So that kind of sucks. I think the only way that really works out easily is where Jomen's complicit, or not complicit, they're cooperative, right? They're like, okay, guys, we'll give you some of our land. You've killed a bunch of our shit. Let's all, we wanted to be in a stronger position, but let's get on the ghost train, right? But they're going to have to deal out some spoils, I think. But now's the time, because Jomen still has the ability to king make, but also to make getting spoils hard. So to me, it just makes sense that they would, give the... I think it's also pretty clear at this point they're not going to be able to keep them, all the spoils. So better to hand them out voluntarily, not weaken the people that are going to need to be your future partners against the war against Lemuria. And, anyway, that's that. I think that's it for this turn, too. I think we've covered most of the things. Yeah. So with that, tune in next time. Let's see if the coalition state flips. If it starts to turn on Lemuria. Certainly, we haven't gotten any messages from Lemuria, but certainly how aggressively they're playing around that Agartha region. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Right? Their land has gone up almost 40-50% in the past few turns. So, or no, it's definitely gone up 50% in the past 10 turns. So they know that they should be the next coalition target. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how they play it. So tune in next time, see what happens, and until then, take care.